I'm here. I'm here. I'm just getting into position. Hi. Whoop. This looks like a fancy studio. Ooh, this looks like a fancy studio, but it's actually, I'm behind my bed right now. I had to push the bed back, put up a stool, put up some lights. But I do have all this fancy signage for my Broadway Fanatic show, which if you haven't seen it, you can get it on Broadway on Demand. And I'm very excited because I'm going to be joined by Kate Rockwell today from Mean Girls. And I dyed my hair pink for the occasion. Just kidding. I dyed my hair pink. It's been almost a year and I cannot believe it because this year has been so weird. But Kate will be here in a minute and we're going to talk about her new, well, actually, I don't know how new it is, her venture as a wine expert. You can follow her not only on Kate Rockwell NYC on Instagram, but also on Broadway Wino on Instagram. And I'm a little out of breath, and that's because I live across the street from, oh, she's here. I live across the street from a wine shop. So I just ran downstairs and got some wine so she can teach me how to taste it. I have been known to, hang on. I don't know that I'm any kind of an expert. So I'm just waiting for her to join and I'm going to just shut my door. I'll be right there. Ugh.
I am dead for this pink hair.
You like it?
Oh my God. It is so cool.
I have
like
always wanted pink hair, and I was like, I went on tour at the end of last year with Todrick Hall. He randomly needed a merchandise manager, and I had 6 weeks off. So I was like, I'll go on an international tour with you. And
Absolutely.
Then his hair and makeup woman did it, Valerie. And since then, I've just been putting that color depositing conditioner in it.
The overtone?
It's not Overtone brand.
Okay.
It's called Cara Color, and I get it on Amazon. They do not sponsor me, but I would welcome a sponsor.
You're like, but they could.
They do, yeah.
They'd be welcome to do that.
I think they recommend you put it in for like 15 minutes, but I put it in and leave it on overnight. So
That's, I mean, when I did mine earlier this year, when I did mine pink, I did overtone and I left it in for 45 minutes. And I was like, it was amazing. And I was absolutely in love with it.
Did you have to get it professionally taken out or did it?
No, actually it faded really nicely on its own. And then right around the time that it turned like this really pretty like rose gold color, it was like safe to go back. And I had a friend like kind of touch up my hair because my roots were like, like down.
I think everybody's are. I mean, this is my, I put pink everywhere, but only this was the blonde part. That's how long my roots had gotten.
I mean, that's like mine was starting like all this was brown and then it was like faded pink. And
well, we all know. In fact, I spent today listening to your Back to My Roots album. So you going back to your roots is not the worst thing in the world.
Exactly. Except for my hair is like not a cool brown color. It's like really boring, flat brown color. It like doesn't.
So is mine. I highly recommend if you ever grow it out, just throwing some pink on top.
Put some pink in it. I know, truly, it looks so cool. You look like such a rock star.
Well, I mean, this is the first time I put pants on and except work, I work out a lot. That's been the one blessing of this pandemic is I'm doing these amazing workouts, but except for gym clothes, I barely get dressed, much less put on eyeliner. So you're a special occasion.
I'm honored that you put pants on for me, but also congratulations on the working out thing. I have watched people work out during this time. That's that's as far as it's gone for me.
Another free plug I am always happy to give is Mark Fisher Fitness.
Oh yeah.
I pay full price for my classes. I'm not sponsored, but they have made it so fun.
Yeah.
And the community aspect is like, in some ways it's better than even going to the clubhouse to just.
And their culture, the culture that they've created in that team is so incredible. And we've known Mark for a long time. We actually knew him before he started the company. Back when he was an actor.
Wait, who's we?
My husband and I. Sorry. Oh. So I did a show with Mark, like when he was still an actor years and years and years ago. And so watching them build that company up and like watching how much like love and passion and literal sweat and blood and tears he put into it to have it turn out like so phenomenally and like be so successful and also like.
Oh no, I lost you. Oh, There you go.
Nope. You know
Okay.
why? Because I watched The Social Dilemma and I told myself I was not going to do Instagram for more than an hour a day, and my alert just went off saying you hit your alert.
Well, that's smart. Do you use an app to time that?
It's on your phone. There's things called like screen time, and you can like set limits for like different apps.
I knew that it recorded it, like it measured it, but I didn't know that you could have it alert you.
Yeah, you can have it like shut your apps down at certain hours of the day, or if you've been on them for too long. So I regularly go over my Instagram one.
Well, I appreciate you spending the time with me. And I wanted to show you, I to pull back the curtain a little bit for everyone watching, I literally texted Kate 20 minutes ago and was like, oh, I live across the street from a wine shop. Should I just go get something? And she was like, I guess. So I went in. My favorite afternoon snack right now is a Granny Smith apple and cheddar cheese.
Yes. And look at the presentation.
That sometimes, thank you. I know that sometimes white wines have like I don't know even what you call it, but like hints of green apple. Mm-hmm. So I went into the wine shop and I said, I like Pinot Grigio. Do you have something that would go well with green apples? And the guy pulled out a bottle out of the fridge. So it was cold. And I was like, this is going to be like the $60 bottle, right? He goes, nope, $13.
I mean, I haven't tasted it yet,
but this is the one that he chose. It's called Chris, K-R-I-S. I don't know if you can see it on the lights, but.
Oh yeah, it's a little cute. Label's cute.
And listen, it's got a twist off.
Label is a big part of it.
What'd you say?
It is a twist off? I was going to say, is it a twist off?
It is.
Good. Because otherwise we would have to have that whole conversation about how to open it. It's such a pain in the butt.
Well, it used to be. I mean, I'm old enough to remember when twist off was a sign of a bad wine. The only thing worse than a twist off was a box.
Yeah, people still think that that's true, and that is so not the case. Like, it's actually like the most brilliant thing that people have started to do in sort of conservation efforts, which is that like some wines are not meant to age, and that's what cork in the wine bottle is for. It's to help the wine age over time in the bottle. But like that Pinot Grigio isn't designed to age. It's designed to be drunk this year. Like they don't want you
this year. I thought I was going to say it's designed to be drank all in one night.
I mean, well, I'm sure they hope that you do.
So I have these two sets of wine glasses. How do I know which one to use? Oh, and before we go into this, can you just give everyone the information of how they can do the wine tasting with you? Let's get the plugs out of the way right up top.
Yes, let's do a plug. So I'm teaching, this is my very first like gung-ho wine class ever. It's this Saturday at 7 p.m. You can get tickets. Actually, you can go onto my Instagram page. There's a link to buy tickets on there. You can also find tickets. There was a release that went out with the ticket link on Broadway World. I
think just link in your bio is the
easiest. I was like, everyone's already on it. Just find them. Yeah, find it it's right on my Instagram bio, and you can click buy tickets. They're $15 to come and like hang out, and it's going to be a 90-minute class. We're going to talk about 2 different wines, which depending on where you are, you can definitely still go and buy and find and taste with me. Or you can find things that are similar. We're actually tasting 2 wines from Santa Barbara, California. We're gonna do a Pinot Noir and a Chardonnay, which is sort of what Santa Barbara is famous for. Trying to promote the California wine, but the ones that are actually good, not the doom and gloom California wines. That
I was going to say, don't be talking about my Napa wines. I'm a Northern California girl. I don't want you
and I love a Napa wine. But I feel like they get such a bad rap because there's so much wine that comes out of California that is like designed to be like mass produced and large, sort of like boxed, not boxed wine literally in a box, but like wine that is
like the big box store equivalent.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to say. Thank you.
Yeah. I will say that like
we're focusing on like smaller producers and wineries that are owned by families and they make their wine by hand, and they're not trying to like make large quantities. They're trying to make really cool art. So that's what we're going to do. It's going to be really fun. And my friend Ashley Park's going to join us for a little bit, and we're going to have
Have you been watching Emily in Paris?
Oh, I went through it in a day.
Me too. It's so good. And she I knew that she spoke multiple languages, but in this show, she's speaking them all. Like she's speaking Chinese and she's speaking French and she's like obviously speaking English and she's singing crazy. And I'm like
singing in French, singing. I know she's so amazing in it. It's so fun because she's so herself. Mm-hmm. Like there's so much of that character that really is just my friend, and so it's really cool to watch. And I actually got to meet some of her co-stars too. So getting to see them do it's like neat to like put it all together and see what this huge chunk of my friend's life was. So
did they film it in Paris?
They did.
Nice.
I know, right? I was like, this job is a literal dream come true. Like, go move to Paris and star in a brand new TV show for Netflix.
And not to mention to be able to have a starring role, but also to be able to sing. Because I feel like, it's so rare to get a sitcom. I mean, because she plays a nanny who's also a singer. It's not like Smash or Glee where everybody sings. She gets to, it's like a storyline about her.
Well, and they created that for her because she's who she is. Darren Star really wanted to. I hope it's okay. I'm like doing press for the show. I don't work for them.
I mean, I don't work for the wine company or for Mark Fisher Fitness or for, you know, but we love what we love, and it's important to talk about that.
I know. It's so true. It's so true. Yeah, it's so sweet. And you guys, if you haven't seen it yet, you must go watch it. It's such a good show.
Just make sure you set aside 10 hours so you can watch the entire thing.
Because you will not turn it off.
And you know what? Why not get a glass of wine? And make sure you're drinking out of the right glass.
So
how do you choose the right glass?
So normally what you have, oh gosh, this is where I screw up. In your right hand, raise your right hand. Oh, I'm wrong. Okay, great. So I was like, are we mirrored? Are we on the same side? I can never remember with these lines.
Well, you can tell based on like, does that, where it says 100 days, does that look
to me?
It's backwards to you. So, okay, yeah. So, well, anyway, this
so we're mirroring each other, right? So what's in your left hand is normally designed for white wine, and what's in your right hand is normally designed for red wine. And the reason is that red wine, because of the chemicals that are in the skins of the grapes, it usually needs a little bit more time with oxygen, and because that glass is wider, you're going to get more oxygen into the glass and into the wine. White wine doesn't need, exactly. White wine doesn't need that. However, because we're going to do like tasting, I say go with the bigger, more open glass because you're going to be able to get some more oxygen in there.
Great.
But technically, yeah, white wine
glass, out of frame for a second. Let me ask you something from an Instagram standpoint. This is the first time I've done one with this background, which I have for my Broadway on Demand show. Is it distracting that it's all backwards?
No,
no,
because I mean, we know, it's like I know what they are, so like I see it and I'm like, great, there's that, and then there's that, and I love the fangirl art. It's so cute.
I literally was just like, I saw you were doing this, and I don't have a regular, or I didn't until today, have a regular interview platform anymore. I put my podcast on hiatus, and I've just been focusing on, I have this new shop. I'm selling Broadway merchandise that I've collected over the years, raising money for charity and helping make ends meet. And also just my own plug, it's called Applause Shop. And I'm also, I'm also helping artists who are out of work sell their collections of like opening night gifts they don't want anymore, apparel, merchandise, the kind of thing that is filling up people's apartments and feels kind of like clutter. But there are kids all over the world, kids of all ages, who would die to get their stuff on that. And like giving money to the Actors Fund is great, but when you can put money directly into the artist's hands, then it doesn't go through, you know,
the red tape.
Exactly. So like like Sharon Wheatley from Come From Away, we sold her lifetime's worth of Playbill collections. And this is an exclusive. I have not talked about this yet. We're going to be selling her costume from Cats, which she only has because she bought it from Broadway Cares years ago. But now she's ready to let it find a new home. And we're going to give a third of the money to Broadway Cares. And so Applause Shop is my new labor of love. But I saw that you were doing this wine thing, and I was like, I wish I had a platform where we could promote this. And I was like, I'll just make one. So I just, well, I do with Instagram. Yeah. I mean, it's like the platform anybody can have. And an hour ago or 2 hours ago, when I posted about it on Instagram, I was like, I'm going to call it a new show, and I'll call it Laura Heywood Checks In. And like 10 minutes later, I started getting press releases saying, we'd like to book a guest on Laura Heywood Checks In.
And you're like, I will have my assistant reach out to you.
I was like, this publicist really knows what they're doing. Anyway, I'm really excited to see you and talk to you. And
I know it's so nice to see your face. I haven't seen you in so long. My coffee is going to join your wine.
I agree. Yes, that is no problem. You're getting lots of comments and hearts too. People are saying you're a queen. You're so iconic. OMG.
You guys are so sweet.
Somebody said they saw you in as Sharpay at North Shore Playhouse.
Yes. Oh my God.
Ever since. So
some years ago, some time back in the day, I loved working there. North Shore is one of my favorite places I've ever worked. It was so much fun.
I wish I had a taller stool so you could see the wine.
I know your little setup is so cute.
I literally had to shove my bed that way to put this. It's the only empty wall in my apartment.
This is one of the best things about Instagram and like doing things virtually is that you would never, ever, ever know. Okay, so wait, before you pour, go with me on this. I'm going to so these are a couple of wine tasting tips, and I would promise not to be like super boring and technical, But
Oh,
so when you pour only like an ounce and a half of wine in that glass.
Okay.
Like a little bit.
Do I need to tip it or anything?
No, it's okay. You can just pour it in there. That's perfect. Yep, that's great. Okay. So that thing that we talked about even before, we were saying like oxygen in wine, it's like a huge part of wine tasting is allowing the wine to interact with oxygen. So many people, like when you go to a wine tasting at a winery place, they like fill your glass up, and that's like a huge no-no in tasting, because what you want to be able to do is you want to be able to swirl it. And the swirling, it really is about getting oxygen into the wine, but it's also about getting, so wine is taste, yes, but it's also a lot of smell. Mm-hmm. Obviously, like smell and taste go.
That's why they call it a nose, separate right?
Them. Exactly. So the first thing when you're wine tasting is you want to pour only that little bit in there so that you can get a good swirl going. And you can also, the big glasses, another reason we use big glasses is you can like kind of stick your nose in there. Because what you want is all of the aromas. Exactly. Literally, that's what people do. They stick their whole faces in the wine glass.
It does smell
good. And you want to get all those aromas up in there because sometimes there are different characteristics of the wine on the nose and on the palate. And you want to be able to get both together. So we always start wine tasting with nose, right? So first it's like we look at it. We won't do that because it's very scientific and we'll save that. We'll save that for Saturday. Right, exactly.
I was looking for the legs. That's another term that I know, but this doesn't appear to have any legs.
So it's probably cold.
It is cold.
Legs has to do with the viscosity of the wine. That's literally all legs mean. It does not mean good wine. It does not mean anything else. It just has to do with the viscosity.
And that's when there are like little lines.
Exactly.
I just think it's funny that there are so many human anatomy terms that apply to wine. Like, it sounds like a riddle. What has legs, a nose, and a palate?
It's so true. I know. Well, and they really, if you like go back in like the history of wine, there's a lot of parallels drawn between wine and the female body. Also, like if you go back in time, there's a lot of poetry about wine and women. And
I know about the champagne glasses and Marie Antoinette's breasts because I learned it on Emily in Paris.
Thanks, Emily in Paris. I actually did not know that. That was like I was like, oh, that's a really fun little tidbit that I had no idea about.
Well, and you can now work it into your. Is it like, is wine would you call it a hobby, a passion, a side gig?
I call it a passion. I call it a hobby most of the time. Definitely passion. I did work in the industry, so I sort of fell into this back in 2015, really. I had just left Rock of Ages. I had gotten married, and I was sort of not in a place where I was like ready to dive back into theater. I was really tired after bringing on into Rock of Ages back to back, like 3.5 years straight of very high intensity shows. And I was like kind of beat up and a little bit like, I need like a minute. And I met a friend of a friend at a party who worked at a wine shop. And I literally spent the entire evening sitting with him talking about wine. And then the next night at a different party, we were also both there. And we literally did the exact same thing. And by the end of the second night, he offered me a job.
That's amazing. Like, isn't that great how stuff like that works out?
But that's the thing. Like, and you have to just go like, yes. Okay. What am I doing? Why not? Like, I'll come work work the register at the shop and like move boxes and like get a discount on wine. Sounds great. And I walked in the first day and was like, oh, I don't know anything about anything. There's like walls of different Italian wines and walls of all these French wines. And I was like, I didn't know what Chablis was. Like I thought I knew something. I didn't know nothing. And because I love to learn and I'm very like passionate about learning stuff. I was like, well, if I'm going to work here, I got to know what this is. And so I started studying and like buying bottles and tasting things. And it like the bug bit me so hard. And so then I went to school. My friend Jess is here and she goes, I only drink what you tell me to. She's right. She does. But I went to, it's called the WSETs. It's a certification. Think of it like a trade program, a specialized trade program. And I got a degree there, a certification there. And then I went back again and got what's considered, they have like 5 levels of coursework that you can do. And I've basically graduated the 3rd out of 5 levels. The 4th and 5th are for the grown-up wine people. It's like a 2.5 year course. And then yeah. And I was like, I don't have like 2 years was a bit of a commitment for me to like totally nerd out. But yeah, I fell in love with it. I ended up working at that shop full time for a while. I stopped auditioning for a while. And so I really like dove in and it was so fun and so wonderful. And I think I would in a heartbeat go back to it if that was the right thing.
Well, there's one thing that no pandemic can stop, and that's people's need to drink. So
it's so true. And I truly like it is all my friends are like, so what wine do I order? Where should I get more wine? And so I've just been like promoting the wineries that I like.
Yeah, do it.
Throughout all of this because I'm like, they need the support and we all need the wine. So yeah,
so I want to start drinking soon. I need to figure out how to taste this so that I can properly taste it. But I also want to just pitch you an idea, which is I think that this ongoing series of wine classes is great. And I think that there's something, I wouldn't know how to do it, but you probably would. There's something to be said for pairing wines and original Broadway cast recordings.
Yes.
That
you are not the first person to suggest that to me, actually. I feel like,
like Broadway Wino is the show, you know? And everybody has access to the cast recording, and
it would be really fun. We could do like a feature, like a joint effort of like cast recording and wine. Honestly, it'd be a blast.
Well, I'm here for it. And if you need, I've got this relationship with Broadway on Demand, and I'm happy to make introductions, and
we should talk about that for sure.
We'll talk about that when we're not broadcasting live. Now,
let's get you a drink because you've been dutifully holding that glass. So first step, right? So give it a little swirl. It's great because it's been oxygenating this whole time. And then what I want you to do is I want you to stick your nose in there, and I want you to smell. What you're aiming for is to smell for things that identify as fruit or flower. Especially in a white wine, you're going to notice a lot of probably like bright citrus. So think like, does it smell like lemon? Does it smell like lime? Does it smell like orange? Does it smell like lemon peel?
I feel like I smell tangerine.
Sure, yeah.
And honey.
I love honey. Good one.
And I don't know. Those are like the first two things that came.
That's amazing. Is there anything kind of grassy or herbal in there? Something that smells.
Maybe something that's like a little bit spicy, like a little bit ginger, maybe?
Absolutely. 1,000%. Yeah, these are all, so it's interesting when you're talking about the nose of wine. First of all, there's no wrong answer, really. There are things that we do in like the wine culture that are trying to like unify things and use specific words so that it's not like me being like, it smells like my grandma's basement.
Yeah.
She's drinking, it's the crisp Pinot Grigio. It looks like 20.
Yeah, when I hold it like this, can you even see what it says? I feel like my lights are too bright. But yeah,
where does it say it's from?
It looks like it's Italian. Della Venezia.
Oh yeah, so it's from Venice or near Venice, Venetian wine region. So we're talking northeastern Italy. Cool climate.
And it was recommended specifically to me because I said I wanted something that went with green apples.
So I was going to ask you, do you smell anything that kind of gives you that like Granny Smith apple flavor?
I think like if I put that in my brain, I could believe that that's there.
Sure. Okay.
But I also don't know that, like, I feel sort of like I wish that I had, or I could see, I don't wish, but I see the value of if I had 4 different wines and 4 different Pinot Grigios, and I could be like, oh, this one has grapefruit and this one has peach, or, but I also am like, you could tell me that I was supposed to smell grass and I'd be like, oh yeah.
Oh, I smell grass, yes. And there's so much of that in wine, right? Is like the power of suggestion is so strong. We talk about flavor and sense memory and all that stuff. So what's fun now is once you sort of clocked all of those things, and listen, you listed a lot of like very adult wine words in there. Like you got ginger and honey, which is like amazing. So now give it a little bit of a swirl and you're like, I'm going to wear it. Take a good sip.
No, who cares? I turned the camera off. I'm not going to see another human being for another week. So
take a good sip and make sure you coat all of both sides of your mouth and underneath your tongue. That's the goal, is to like really get it all the way around in there so that it hits all of your flavor receptors. You want to make sure that it gets to all of those corners and doesn't just like pass over the back on the way down.
I felt like I was swirling mouthwash.
Which is great. And that's honestly like
I should have gargled it.
There's that air suck technique that like sounds like you're slurping. And basically what that is doing is trying to pull air over the wine so that it also reactivates all of your olfactory glands in addition to all of your taste receptors in your mouth. So you can literally get all the smell and the taste all at the same time. It's not for the faint of heart. Trust me, the first couple times you try to do it, you dribble wine all over the front of you. I would never make you do that on Instagram.
I mean, it might make for a viral video.
The next best thing is just
grown
to get a
woman
good swirl
cannot
in your
manage
mouth
and
and
be
cover
like,
them all.
hashtag drinking problem.
hashtag quarantine problems, hashtag drinking problem. So now see what you feel about all of those things that you identified in the nose. How's that tangerine? Do you clock the honey? You might not taste
Definitely
it.
the honey.
Yeah. Okay, great.
And then there's this, it's not a particularly dry wine, but it has a tartness to it that makes me a little bit puckery.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is reminiscent of what a green apple makes my mouth feel. Like it doesn't necessarily taste like green apples, but it gives me the same, it feels like it like lives in the same place in my mouth. If that doesn't sound crazy.
That's the acid in the wine. And the way that you can kind of level out, like if a wine is super acidic or not, is how much it makes your mouth salivate after you swallow it. Mm-hmm. And like the more you salivate, the higher the acid is in the wine. Pinot Grigio is notoriously a very high acid wine, which is great. Like it cuts through like heavy, dishes. It's like sharp on its own. It's a very useful thing to have like a
Should I try a piece of this apple with it?
Actually, try a piece of the cheddar with it.
Okay. I almost didn't bring the cheddar. I'm glad I did.
Oh no, always cheese. Literally always cheese with wine.
So do you, I just ate the cheese. It's still in my mouth, hashtag talking with my mouth open. Do you recommend swallowing it and then having the wine?
Yes. Okay. Yes. For one, I don't want you to choke on it. And for two,
Thank you.
For one, I'm looking out for your health. No, definitely want to, because you want to also be able to experience the whole like flavor of the cheese and then also how the wine impacts that, right? And how they work together. There's like not a right answer if it's like before or after the food or the wine, because they should ultimately pair together. What I think I like about these two things, having not tried either of them, is that the acid in that Pinot Grigio should cut through the fattiness of the cheddar, and then you should get a nice pairing of the two, and then follow it with the apple.
It seems like it actually has a lot less flavor after I have the cheese. Like it may just be it's an extra sharp cheddar. So
strong.
Yeah. So, but the puckeriness was like not there. It sort of was like, it was like almost like diluted. The wine was sort of diluted by the cheese.
Absolutely. Isn't it so interesting? I mean, they honestly, like when you really start paying attention to your wine and how it, like what the flavor profiles are and how it changes both over time or with other foods, it's really astonishing, the science of it and like the levels that you can experience all with the same glass of wine. Yeah. That's one of the things that I love the most about it, is that it really does it becomes more of an artistic experience than just like chugging a glass of wine because you're not paying attention, which has its own thing. For those of us over the age of 21, that has its own merits. But even a wine, you're like, I walked in, I asked for a bottle, like this is what they gave me. Like, it's just for fun, right? But the way you get to experience it and all of the different facets that go into it. I mean, the amount of work and the number of people that were involved in making that bottle of wine, make it the way that it is. It's so cool to really process what all of the stories that went into that bottle are. And then you start doing your research like on the winery and where is it and who are these people that run it and how do they grow their grapes. Like there is so much story in every single bottle of wine. And the more natural the bottle of wine, she's gonna be so mad. I'm diving in now. I'm going. The more natural the bottle of wine, the more you actually get to experience that, because you're not dealing with, like we were talking about before, those sort of like big box store wines, like wines that are just meant to be the same every single time. And I, again, not knowing a lot about this particular wine, so I don't want to like speak about it or not about it. But if you have a wine shop that you trust, like go down and talk to them about like low intervention wines, or like we call them natural wines. That's sort of the large bubble of the movement where we don't add a lot of chemicals or add a lot of preservatives or flavorings or anything to the wine. We sort of let the wine be what it's going to be.
Are there places that add flavorings to wine?
So, unlike food, the alcoholic products are not required to put what is in the bottle on the label. And that does not mean that there are not things in there. Any wine that has been processed, let's call, or basically any wine that is made in a style that is designed to be exactly the same every single time. Think like your Gato Negros or your Tubac Chuck or Franzia, any of those like really big produced wines, anything you would find in a grocery store for sure. or anything you've ever seen an advertisement for. Because if they have an ad budget, they are definitely
they don't want people to be mad when they go in and they want some. I mean, I know Starbucks had this issue where for a while they were sourcing beans from all over the place and people didn't feel like they had consistency, and that's why they created the Pike blend, the Pike Place blend, so that people could go into a Starbucks anywhere in the world and get the same thing. But coffee connoisseurs, maybe they just really like that, but they'll go in and get like the smaller batch and get something different every time.
So that's very similar to what we're talking about with wine, right? So
I just lost the audio. Can you hear me? I'm not hearing you at all. I don't know. That's so weird. My volume's all the way up. I don't know what you just said. Yeah, people in the comments can't hear you either. Okay, I think she left. I think she's going to come back. Hi, Gina. I'm glad you can hear me. I think she's coming back. And then, could anybody hear Kate, or was it just me? Let's see. Okay, she's coming back. She's coming right back.
It was definitely me. It was definitely me. I think like I was like got a phone call that I sent away, and I had a feeling that just screwed up.
It's so funny. It's like I feel like we're in this moment with streaming and video conferencing technology, whether it's Zoom, whether it's Skype, whether it's this, where we're in the equivalent of the dial-up internet era, where we're going to look back at this and be like, remember when you would get a phone call and your Instagram live would go out and people would be like, what's Instagram?
Well, that's the thing. It literally is going to be so fascinating to see like what happens now, what technology we develop to like make that better, because like we all know we need better now, but like who cared 8, 9, 10 months ago? Like it was like, doesn't matter. Just any video conferencing I'm doing on my phone is like not that big a deal. Now it's my whole life.
I know. Well, but the technology will come because it has to. I mean, whoever invented Zoom is like cashing in.
Can you imagine being that guy? Literally like overnight, your company that like no one's heard of except for like it's kind of like Skype, and now it's like a verb.
Yeah.
It is literally the defining word of 2020. Like how crazy is that?
I know. And like Zoom was ready, but Google Hangouts had a cap at 4 or 5 people or something. And I tried doing Google Hangouts at the beginning of the pandemic, and it was not ready. And that's not like Google.
Oh, I think they were just asleep at that wheel. They were doing.
They had other priorities.
All the other things. Yeah.
Okay, so you were talking about
natural wine.
Oh, we were talking about like, is it? I remember learning, as I love the Tropicana orange juice. Yep. And I was like, oh, they must have the best orange groves. And then someone was like, they use this thing called flavor packets where it's artificial flavoring that they put on top of the natural orange juice so that every batch tastes the same. And I literally felt like my heart was hurting.
So that is exactly what they do with wine. So like, heaven forbid you have like a bad year and like all your grapes are terrible and like they all get, I don't know, rot, things that happen in farms. They can add coloring, alcohol, flavoring. So like wines that taste like they have oak on them. Somebody who loves Napa wine, like anything that tastes oaky, like they can literally.
I do not like oaky wines. So
they can throw bags of oak chips into the wine rather than like putting it in an oak barrel, which is expensive, but that's what you're supposed to do. Like they can do. There's lots of toxic chemicals in commercial wine. There is
alcohol is toxic, wine. Isn't it? Like,
we're talking like cyanide, arsenic.
Well, how do I find out looking at a label?
So you don't, and that's the trick, right? It's because they're not required to put it on there. So the general rule is, if you are unsure, you are almost always safer with. I'm gonna throw this out. It doesn't necessarily mean anything. If you have someone like a wine store that you can actually ask a professional, amazing. Trust your wine store. Trust your people. They know what they're doing. If it's a good, decent wine shop, like they've tasted stuff, they know what it is. If you don't have that, you can also basically like a safe way of guessing is like if it's under $10, be afraid of what you're drinking. It literally is like you get what you pay for, and those wines are inexpensive because they're making so many of them, and a lot of them are made not by grape things. They're just made in labs.
Well, this one does say, the first line says, Chris winemakers have combined modern technology and traditional winemaking artistry to handcraft an exquisite modern Italian expression of Pinot Grigio. To me, when they say modern technology, that probably means flavor packets.
It might mean some flavor packets. It's very possible they've like added something in there to like stabilize it or make sure that it's, you know, consistent vintage to vintage.
I will tell you the thing that I learned recently that shocked me is that most white wine isn't vegan. I have a friend who's very strict vegan, and I wanted to get her a bottle of wine for her birthday, and she had made a passing comment about vegan wines. And so I was like, most of these wines, I mean, there's no meat in them, gross. But when I asked specifically about vegan wine, either the wine shop people, not at my specific wine shop, but at the ones up by where she is, they didn't know what that was. And they were like, well, we have low carb wine. And I was like, well, that's not the same thing. Like
low carb wine. Wine is made of sugar. You can't have a low carb wine.
They were just, I think, trying to say that they did have a variety of things, but not that. But yeah, like the color or the skins are filtered out through.
Yes, egg white. Egg white.
Oh, I thought it was like through an intestine or something.
So there's a very old world wine a filtration method that is that it is not used very much anymore.
Oh, that's good.
However,
because I was picturing yucky.
Yeah, no, it's not quite as scary as that. I would say 99.999% of the time. I'm sure someone out there is still doing that, but it's very rare. No, more often than not, it's not vegan because they use egg white as a fining agent, and what they do basically is like they I'm going to make this sound way simpler than it is because science. But like basically
I'm going to drink a little bit more of this wine while you talk.
You definitely should. They add egg white to the wine, and what happens is those teeny tiny little particles of stuff that make wine cloudy attach to the egg white, and then that pulls it down so they can get all the basically to keep the wine clear so that the color is clear.
Well, that for some reason that bothers me much less.
Yes. It's less creepy than you think it is. However, it's technically still not vegan, and so you do have to look. There are lots of other ways you can do that are still like very natural, not chemical scary, that are vegan. There's something called a bentonite clay that people use. There's a type of soil that you can kind of like distill out stuff.
I'd rather have egg white in it than dirt.
For me, I'm like, egg white's not that bad. So you can also actually just buy unfined, unfiltered wine, which is that it's just cloudy, which like it tastes the same. It doesn't. There's nothing wrong with it.
I mean, like I've had unfiltered apple juice.
Exactly.
Or like I've had honey that is cloudy.
Cloudier. Yep. Same thing.
But I feel like if I got a cloudy glass of wine, I would be grossed out by it. But it's good to know that that's not.
I would say don't be. It's totally normal. And like all wine is cloudy until they add something to make it not cloudy. So if it's cloudier, you're just getting a wine that has had less intervention. There's nothing wrong with finding or filtering. Really, it's not a chemically scary thing all the time. Sometimes it is. But like if it's not there, if they don't do it and the wine is just cloudier, like great. It's going to taste exactly the same. There's nothing harming you. It just they didn't put anything in it to pull all those teeny tiny little particles of the grape skins and yeast cells and all that stuff out.
Let's give people the information on your wine tasting class that you're doing, just in case they tuned in late or they didn't write it down. Tell us what you've got going on.
This Saturday night, all digital. You can drink wine with me from home. So this Saturday night at 7 p.m., you can find tickets at my Instagram account on link in my bio. They're $15 to join us. It's going to be 7 to 8:30, and we're going to talk about two Santa Barbara wines, Chardonnay and a Pinot Noir, both from smaller producers in the Santa Barbara area that I love. So I'm excited to support them. And we're going to chat about the wines. We're going to talk about wine tasting. We're going to talk about things like glassware and wine keys and how to do it, kind of a little bit like what we just did, but probably a little more in depth because I have to like save some of the secrets or else.
Of course, yeah. We want people to Shell out that look. This is a moment when we got to support the artists we love. So I hope everybody shows up for it.
For me, this has been something I've always wanted to do, and I'm just like a big old chicken, and I have never done it. So quarantine is the perfect time to do things that are scary, because everything is scary. And so we're gonna try it, and it's gonna be really fun. Ashley Park's gonna join us for a little bit and hang out and chat. And we're gonna drink some wine. We're gonna talk about some more wine, and it's gonna be great.
Did you see in the comments some clever Mean Girls fan just asked if there's a special Wednesday class for rosé wines? On Wednesday we drink pink.
That person should hold on a little bit, because they might find out some good information soon.
Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm. That would be remiss if I didn't have some sort of opinion on a rosé wine tasting class.
I believe that when we set this up, I said that it was going to be about 15 minutes. I don't want to keep you. You've been so generous with your time, and I know like you have other things going on, other things to do. So if you need to bounce.
I adore you. Thank you. I've had so much fun, and I appreciate you letting me like keep you from drinking for so long.
Oh my gosh. I haven't been drinking that much. At first during quarantine, I was like, wine tasting, huh? Glug, glug, glug,
just straight bottle. Yep.
But just in the last few weeks, I've really been trying to, I'll just say this was a very good exercise for me, because I can drink 3 ounces of wine over the course of an hour and not feel like I'm just sitting there waiting to take the next sip. I noticed a difference. I'm eating this cheddar cheese and green apple. The first time you just taught me how to swish the wine around my mouth. So when I ate the cheddar cheese, I instinctively did the same thing. I coated my entire mouth with it. Yeah. And then I sipped the wine, and I couldn't taste the wine. And I think it's because of the fattiness of the cheese and the sharpness of the cheddar had
absolutely
given me a protective barrier inside my mouth. But then I had some of the apple, which I think cut through the fat. And then the second time I just chewed the cheese a little bit, like a normal amount of chewing the cheese, but I didn't coat my whole mouth with it. And then I swallowed it, and then I drank the wine, and I felt like I could really get that complementing flavors. And so I learned, swish the wine, don't swish the cheese.
Don't swish the cheese. I want that to be the title of my memoir. Swish the wine, don't swish the cheese.
I gift it to you now. I gift it to you now.
Oh my God. Well, see, what I love though, and I'm always so passionate about it, is that what I learned working in wine is that kind of that same thing. Like we I mean, as a culture, but also like just, I think because it's easy, it's like you just consume it. You don't think that much about it. But actually when you slow down and pay attention to it, not only do you like save your liver a little bit because you'll drink a little less, but also you get so much more out of it than just like a cold alcoholic beverage. Like it's really wonderful to like sort of experience what's in the bottle, the good and the bad. Like go buy a box of Franzia and do that same thing, and you're going to taste cyanide and arsenic, and that'll be another interesting experience.
Well, look, sometimes you just want to get a little effed up.
Cold glass of arsenic. Yeah. It's so scary. So actually that is one of the scarier ones, where like in Europe, they don't sell it because the chemical levels are so high that it doesn't pass their health standards.
I wonder if that's why, like, this is a whole different conversation, but you know how like pregnant women in France will have a glass of wine and be fine. Yeah. But here it's not,
1,000%.
It's probably because of, the poison.
Absolutely. Because in France, they in no world would anyone in France drink wine that has had that kind of chemical additive process to it in any way, because they've been making wine the same way for hundreds of years. Why would they add this crap now? Sorry. Why would they add this stuff now? They're like, I'm not doing that. That's disgusting. Same thing with their food, though. They don't add a lot of chemicals to their food either. And that's why you see French women who are like absolutely stunning and skinny and beautiful, and they like eat cheese and bread all day. And it's like, right, because there's nothing in the cheese and the bread.
I just figured it was cigarettes. I always blame it on cigarettes.
I do think it's maybe that too, but we have those too, and that doesn't seem to be helping. So just saying. But it is true. Like the chemicals make a difference, and that is that's for this our American consumption market, not other. I know other countries don't do that.
So the wines that you are going to be tasting for your class, are those natural wines? Those are ones that
they are They are.
just
So
go through
they're
the
natural. There's a natural wine is a big word. It can mean a lot of different things. It's not like it doesn't have like a standard definition. They are wines that are made sustainably. They are wines that are not made with a lot of chemical intervention. One's a little bit of a larger production. One's a little bit of a smaller production. But both of them are aiming at sustainable farming and trying to impact the environment in a positive way, and not, you know, damage the soil, damage the air, but also not adding a lot of you know, chemical after effect to what they're making in the winemaking process also. So you get what's called terroir. The word terroir is a big fancy wine word that means like a taste of where it's from, basically. So they want the wine to taste unique to the region, as opposed to like every other Chardonnay or Pinot Noir you've ever had, or like a Chardonnay or Pinot Noir from Napa or from New York or from France. They want it to taste distinct. And the way that you do that is you don't mess with it a lot. You sort of let the yeast that are indigenous to that area do their work, and you let the grapes grow the way the grapes want to grow there. And you end up with a wine that is sort of unique to its region. And both of the wines that we're going to taste on Saturday really focus on that.
And just for legal purposes, we absolutely do not condone drinking it if you're pregnant.
No, we do not. No,
we
do
are
not
recommending that.
21.
You make the decision you need to make for your own body, but we weren't trying to imply that that's okay.
No, I am not a doctor. It is not for me to tell you whether or not that is a good decision.
Can I ask you two quick Mean Girls related questions?
Please do.
One is directly related to Mean Girls. The other is indirectly related. The first, I'll start with the indirect one. How do you feel about the evolution of the name Karen in popular culture?
I have to say, it's a little bit hard identifying as the Karen that I identify with, understanding how that has turned now. I would like to believe that my Karen wouldn't be one of those Karens. I think she has a lot more love in her heart, and so I believe that my Karen is not a Karen. But I do, it does hurt me. I will say it hurts me a little bit. Every time I hear it, I'm like, oh.
My sister's name is Karen.
Yeah, you're like, oh.
And I know so many great, I don't know a single Karen who's a Karen. I know some Karens and I know some Karens, but there's no overlap.
But they're not Karens.
Well, I agree. I think that your Karen, like just I mean, I don't think you would consider it a controversial statement to say she's dumb, but she's sweet.
Right. She has other nice qualities.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And being exclusive.
No, she's a lover, man. I don't think she, you know, I always used to say, like, I don't think Karen even understands, my Karen even understands, you know, how she's impacting people in her environment in a negative way. She's definitely not doing it in the aggressive Karen way.
Right. Yeah. And then the other is, what have you heard or what's your future plan as it relates to Mean Girls? Are you?
So my last show with Mean Girls was 3 days before the shutdown.
Oh my gosh. I knew that you were coming up on it, but I didn't know. So you got to have your final bout.
I did.
Wow.
Me and Gray and Barrett all had our final bout on the Sunday before the lockdown. So we did actually get to say goodbye. We got to do, you know, have an incredible closure on a chapter of our lives that was, you know, so important. And I'm so grateful that we got that, because I can't imagine what it would feel like to not have had that.
Yeah.
And have this sort of be the way that, you know, the giant question mark that is sort of the future be the way that I was thinking about that time of my life. But yeah, so that's what I know. I mean, okay. And
was there another project that you were going into that got put on hold?
So I was working on a TV show actually that got put on hold. So we'll see.
Has that been announced what that is?
It has not, no, actually. And it is, as far as we know, still doesn't have an official title. So we're still waiting for that even. But we got a couple episodes in, so I'm really hopeful that they'll, pick us back up. The last that we heard is where they were hoping to restart in January. So I think we're sort of taking it one day at a time and making sure that everybody is safe and that it's responsible for them to restart production. But I'm very hopeful for it.
Well, once it's in the can and ready, it has a name and you're ready to promote it, I have a platform now. We'll do another check.
Now.
And I have a special thing that I'm going to do as soon as we are done here, which is because we are watching with your fans. I have a very rare Bring It On color playbill that I've been waiting to put in the applause shop.
Yes.
So I'm going to put it. I'm going to list it up for a 7-day auction on eBay. And I will let you choose the charity that the proceeds will go to.
Yes, I love this.
So I'm putting you on the spot. You can also
Okay.
email me later if you want. But we'll 30% of the final sale price. So that's before all my expenses and everything will go to Broadway Cares or the cause of your choice, as long as they're an eBay partner. And all of your fans can find it on applaushop.com within the hour.
Is the I actually was I you know, I love Broadway Cares, so I have nothing. Of course, I'm not trying to take money from them, but I was like the a huge charity that I'm actually raising money for. I'll email you and we'll see.
Okay.
If I don't know that they're going to be a partner with them. So now I said
yeah,
that,
that's
like,
fine. And a lot of the proceeds of stuff we're doing goes to Broadway Cares. We're not taking money away from anybody. We're just spreading the wealth a little bit.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I'll email you and I'll see if they are a partner.
Okay. Amazing.
Thank you. Thank you for having
so
me do this. I really appreciate it.
Cheers.
You enjoy the rest of that glass / bottle / whatever, you.
I will. And check out the link in Kate's bio. Go to our class on Saturday night. Have a little swish, a little swirl, a little
if you're
sip.
Over 21.
If you're over 21. And if not, just follow her on all of the platforms and get the knowledge that you can use when you do turn 21.
Exactly. Absolutely. Cheers, my dear.
Thanks for being my first check-in.
Thank you for letting me come in. It was so fun being a first one. And good luck with the series.
I hope I'll see you again soon.
Absolutely. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in, everybody. Bye, Kate.
Bye, guys.
Talk to everybody soon.